It's funny. I really went in thinking, I don't think I know any of her music specifically where I go, oh, that's Taylor Swift.
Well, and it's really strange to me because her music is inescapable. And I do mean inescapable, especially where we live.
Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing the concert movie Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour.
Rebecca, let's get started.
Taylor Swift hasn't toured for her last 5 albums, and that's about to change with the Eras Tour. With the goal to create a career-wide retrospective, Taylor spends almost 3 hours taking her audience through her past, but also her present reality to create a definitive portrait of herself.
Rebecca, let's talk about why we chose this movie.
Taylor Swift is considered the most iconic solo female musician of this present moment in time. I've grown up with Taylor basically since I was in middle school. It's really strange to see Taylor take on these personas as positions of herself, but also try to create a common ground that is Taylor Swift.
Well, and she's not much older than you are, right? You're almost 29 and she's 33.
Way to date me, but yes.
Yeah, way to date. Well, and for me, I didn't grow up with her, right? She's not the musician that I'm used to. However, I was excited and I really wanted to see this, right? Like you said, there's so much hype around this. I'll be honest. What's the hype? Let me learn. And this to me seemed like a great opportunity. As you said, it's a retrospective, 5 albums plus way back in the day. And honestly, I was surprised she's been making music so much longer than I remember. I do remember the whole junior high, middle school tobacco that everyone was listening to her. But it's funny. I really went in thinking, I don't think I know any of her music specifically where I go, oh, that's Taylor Swift.
Well, and it's really strange to me because her music is inescapable. And I do mean inescapable, especially where we live.
Oh, yeah. No, she's everywhere. And that's the part where I felt so stupid. It's like, I don't know if I know her music. And it's true. I'm counting the rest of our Cocoon cast. Some of them know more, some know less. And we were kind of doing hand signals about how many. And I'm like, I do 5. So at the end, I knew 5 songs. And obviously, I learned a lot more of her songs, the sound. I was pretty impressed by it all.
I know you were impressed. I was just curious to see how it was all going to work together because some of these albums she has toured for in the past. So I was curious to see if there's a significant difference between the visual language that she's going to use that's the more mature Taylor sound.
Well, and that's a great point because there was a part where she was at a piano, she was playing the guitar, and I understand, the Swifties will probably already know all of these things. But for me, I found it interesting that she would go from the guitar to the piano. Costume changes like crazy, but it actually, versus just going to one concert where you say, oh, she's promoting this one album, this is the genre. I actually appreciated the fact that there were so many costume changes, and we were laughing because one of our Cocoon cast members was like, how in the world did she change that fast? No kidding. But she was able to hit so many different eras. It really did feel like a retrospective. It felt like I'm sitting with her and she's saying, hey, here's my music, and the pop sound, a little bit more of the rock sound. She's pretty darn versatile.
That's one of the things that's always fascinated to me about Taylor is when she first came on the scene, it was almost like she was pigeonholed into this country sound, and then she wanted to cross over kind of like how Dolly Parton has done so over the years.
Sure.
But then she takes another leap and goes to Reputation, but then she starts going more heavy pop sound, and then she's stripped it back a little bit more with the Folklore and the Evermore albums.
I have a hard time pinpointing different specific periods, and hopefully our Cocoon cast will forgive me for not being quite the Swiftie that I know some people are. But I liked that she, at one point, she said, oh, this is a song that I did when I was in 9th grade. And I thought, oh my gosh, 9th grade. Most people are, 14, 15. And to be so vulnerable and to say, okay, I'm going to sing this song. And it was interesting to me. It was very vulnerable. It was it felt like a 9th grade song. And I'm thinking, wow, how many people want to go back to 9th grade and talk about the crush they had on the boy? or, talking about I'm not the cheerleader captain, and yet I like somebody and maybe he doesn't quite know I'm around. I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful, because the concert was at the SoFi Arena in Los Angeles. Everyone had cell phones. People were taking pictures and it just lit up. And I'm thinking, wow, the vulnerability was pretty impressive. And I understand a lot of goodwill. People love this woman.
I'd be curious to see if our cinema community would comment below, if you've been following her since the beginning, how that's changed. Because one of Taylor's hallmarks, I know for a lot of her fans, is her willingness to be open in her music.
Oh, no. And I had read a little bit of her background, and I understand, right, her personal relationships definitely affect her music. And there was one point, I can't remember the song title, but it was about Jake Gyllenhaal. And I had heard that song before. Obviously, I had not connected it with her until I had done a little bit more reading. And I just felt for her.
I think you were referring to All Too Well. That was the one with the red and black dress,
correct,
right?
Correct. And of course, everybody's a kid, right? Anybody younger than me, they're a kid. But I just felt for her. I thought, wow, the vulnerability of, I really liked this person and he really hurt me, but I'm going to move on. I'm going to be strong. I just thought, I don't know if I would be comfortable being that open.
Well, what was interesting is Taylor uses this almost as a showcase of her songwriting. Not everything in the Eras Tour is chronological, which I thought was really smart. It was kind of bridged around common themes and sounds.
The theme I did appreciate, and I appreciated you saying that, because I know you had mentioned that before. You said, hey, just don't expect it to be boom. And there was a part where it did make sense. It's like, wait a minute, 1989, how old was she when 89? And I'm like, oh, no, that's something different. Oh, wait a minute, she's talking about this song when she was, oh, no, wait a minute, that's different. And so that made a little bit more sense to me. But her songwriting, and you bring up a really good point, her songwriting was much more powerful than I had previously known. I won't say didn't give her credit for it. I just didn't know. But knowing the records, the pre-sale tickets, they were saying like the first day sold, like 26 million. And AMC, this is their biggest sell for a concert. 100 million in global pre-sales. I know Cinemark and AMC both made the distribution deal with her originally.
Yeah, I have a lot of people in my orbit who are intense Swifties.
Sure.
So when they hit 37 million in pre-sales, I got all of these texts like, oh my gosh, you'll never believe what happened to Taylor Swift. I'm like, well, you're all telling me about it, so.
Well, and the hype around it was pretty incredible. And obviously the concert was, they said it was over the course of 3 days.
Well, it's kind of like Stop Making Sense. If you think about it.
It was, and I kind of appreciate that. So it wasn't just one experience. It was, this is the best angle. This is the best, but the editing in my mind felt very seamless. Obviously her shows are her shows. However, the only thing I was laughing about, she had, the multicolored nail polish, and I laughed because on one scene, the blue you didn't see, and then the next scene you see the blue, and you're like, oh, that must be the next day. But to me, that was the only indication of, oh, this was interesting.
Well, there's definitely going to be a range of experiences with this film. We were lucky we got to see it in Dolby Cinema. Mm-hmm. I know it's being presented in IMAX. Mm-hmm. And I know it's presented in a standard format as well. Well,
and the price range wasn't really crazy different. I know just the standard theaters, they were saying they range from about $13 for kids, seniors, but adults, most people that are going to see it would probably be in the $20 range. However, IMAX, again, lower, $20, $25 for Max, and even the Dolby was around 2025. And I thought for a 3-hour concert experience, and knowing that it was, the sound mix was Dolby Atmos, I really wanted to see it in Dolby if at all possible.
Keep in mind also, if you're specifically part of AMC's Stubs program, this will not count towards your A-list.
Well, and same thing for Cinemark as well. This is an outside A-list or outside Cinemark. That's a great point. Even if you see it in a standard theater, this is something different. Do we have any questions from the box?
Based on your knowledge of Taylor's music, do you think this retrospective really represented the music well? Obviously, she couldn't sing every song, but the choices that she made, do you agree with those choices?
I think this is a for the fans tour, definitively. So I think for the most part, Taylor chose songs that her fans latched on to. There's a few choices that she made that I feel like underserved a couple different eras. But for the most part, it's a very cohesive, this is who I am, this is the image that I'm presenting to the public.
So you recognized her with her choices of music.
Yes. If I was an artist and I'm doing a career-wide retrospective, I would be tempted to fall into nothing but the hits category.
Sure.
And I know a lot of artists who do that, not naming names, but I think it was a smart choice considering the public knows Taylor as a certain kind of person.
Sure.
Everybody has a different image of Taylor in their mind.
Well, and I like that, meaning how often have you and I went to concerts and said, oh, I hope they play that song. I hope they play that song. And for almost 3 hours, it sounds like she played the songs that everyone wanted to hear. And I say everyone loosely, of course. However, I think that makes the concert experience better because I have walked away from concerts going, oh, I do wish they would have played that song. So the fact that she was able to do that and have a pulse on what people wanted to hear, I think that's actually not such a bad move on her part.
There's a couple surprises in there. I know the acoustic set was the highlight for a lot of Swifties. So you get a special treat with this one.
Do we have any other questions from the box?
I know for me, not being a Swiftie, and I'll admit I knew 3 songs out of 3 hours. And one of them was because I watched the movie Sing. That's how I knew the song. I didn't even know it was Taylor Swift. For folks that aren't going to spend hundreds of dollars on a ticket, do you think this is a good medium for artists to reach out and expand their audience to folks that just won't go to the concert? You know, we reviewed, as you said, Stop Making Sense, and last week we did Rattle and a Hum, which again were large concerts that probably had expensive tickets. Do you think more large artists should be doing this once their concert is over and the series is run, that they go ahead and release it in the theater so other folks can partake and enjoy?
I believe that this, pun intended, is a happy medium because it allows the artist to create this experience. It's the same reason I like music videos. They kind of give you a glimpse into what the artist wants to present.
Well, and we've been to some of the concerts that we've reviewed, and the concert experience is obviously more expensive, but it is a different experience. So I wouldn't say it replicates the concert experience. It replicates the music, but there felt like a lot of energy. I know with the Taylor Swift concert, she reached out to this one young fan, and I know you were saying that's something that she typically does. It just a wide variety of people singing or mouthing her song. And so it did have as much energy as I think it could in a movie format. But I agree with the box. I think it's a great untapped opportunity to, like he said, expand your audience, create knowledge at a reasonable price point. To me, this was a reasonable price point for what we experienced.
And I like what you said too, that it's not a substitute for the concert going experience. I will always advocate for live music.
Sure.
But this is a nice way to experience the environment.
I agree with that.
The box also wants to add the other issue with going to a concert for me, where I've never really listened to the person's discography. It's hard to understand lots of times because of the acoustics and all of that. Whereas when you go to a movie where the sound is completely clear, I can completely understand the artist. As a new person to the artist, it's a much better experience for someone like me.
There's also some uniformity too. Every once in a while you'll go to a concert and the sound mix is just awful.
That's true. Or something goes out or something doesn't work. And we've been to many a concerts and that has been the experience. Even with it, it's not, oh, well, if you go to, Bob at the Cafe, maybe you might hear it that way. No, we're talking high-end concerts where something just doesn't quite work right. And again, human error can be a situation. But I agree. I think it's a good introduction. I think it's a good way to learn the lyrics. And the part that I liked too, it wasn't just her. It wasn't just the background vocals and the dancers, obviously a lot going on, but to see different people in the audience Whereas if you go to a concert, you see the back of someone's head and maybe the people around you are singing and dancing. But I enjoyed seeing that. That added to the experience for me. All right, Rebecca. 5 swift little moths dancing and singing.
They're pretty fast today.
They're excited. They just got through watching the show. 1 to 5 moths. What do you think, Rebecca?
I think 3 moths are feeling the buzz for me today.
Okay, number 1 reason for 3.
The movie, to me, felt like a celebration of Taylor's audience. And when I'm watching a concert film, I want to focus on the artist more than the audience.
Oh, okay, that's interesting because that's the part that I actually really liked, and that's the part that sounds like that was a little bit of a hindrance for you to enjoy it.
I love the fact that Taylor included her audience in this film, but it felt almost like a distraction to me.
And it could be. And I think that's a good thing for our cinema community to know going in, that if it could be a distraction, that may be a reason where you're like, well, I'm not quite as excited. Or it may be, for me, it was an enhancement to go, oh, that was great. I appreciated that.
Well, to me, it's like your butt is already in the seat. You're dedicated.
You're bought in. You're all in. And who do you think would enjoy this movie most? Do you think there's an audience or different segments of the audience that would enjoy this the most?
I think the Swifties are definitely get the most out of this film. But I think the other people that might get something out of this film is the music consuming audience who wants to see how people interact and perform, especially with a wide variety of material.
Well, and I know we had talked about the techie aspect, right? The box enjoyed that. You enjoyed that. There were some elements around the theatrical piece that was intriguing to the two of you specifically.
Yeah, I think the set design wasn't phenomenal, but it was engaging. It definitely added layers to the story for me.
Good. That's great. All right. So my singing, dancing moths are back.
Wow.
They came to see just me today.
Encore.
Encore. Exactly. I would give it a solid 4.
Okay.
And my number 1 reason, as you said, the Swifties are going to go. They're excited. Good for them. I think it's good. For me, not knowing the music or not knowing that I knew the music, I appreciated that. I appreciated her vulnerability, the songwriting. I walked away thinking she's much more talented than I knew. And I know that can sound a little bit snarky, but it's not meant to be. It's just, if I don't know, I don't know.
Well, it was just ignorance. It wasn't malevolence.
Correct. It wasn't like, oh, it's like, oh, now I know. And I appreciate now I know. And the energy around the people, I appreciated the diversity of her team. I appreciated the diversity of her audience.
That was cool. I did appreciate the fact it wasn't one type of audience member.
I like that. And her singing, dancing team, same thing. Many people were highlighted, and I appreciated that aspect of it. And I know we had talked about maybe seeing it on IMAX to see if the experience was different, meaning the filming, the sound. I would see it again. Thanks for joining us for this review. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Come back to the channel this Saturday for our weekly show, Movies and More, where we will have more movie reviews, the latest Hollywood news, and commentary with snark meant to amuse.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this review, you might click the link to check our review of She Came to Me, or click the other link to watch last week's show where we reviewed the rockumentary Rattle and Hum.
Remember, cinema community, movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.